What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. We're going to throw you guys a bit of a curveball today. Instead of talking about college football at the top of this podcast, Matt and I are going to talk about college football for almost the entire podcast because the college football playoff bracket has been set. There was a lot of drama over the weekend. So Matt and I are going to talk about what the committee got right and wrong and what we would do to fix college football. As many of you know, I am very anti-college football playoff expansion. And I think we're starting to see a lot of the consequences that I've warned about over the last couple of years come to fruition. So I have an idea of how to fix it. I'm sure Matt has some as well. We're excited to talk about that. But for those of you that are here for the NFL talk, don't worry, we got you. We are still going to do Bolds and Scolds at the end of the podcast for week 14 of the NFL season. It is hard to believe that we are coming down to the final stretch. Every team has played 13 games, so there is only 4 remaining for each team, and then we're going into the playoffs. So lots of fun stuff coming up. Matt and I are super excited to talk about it. But before I grab him, just a reminder, you can reach out to us, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys listening, and we always love to hear from you. You want to talk hockey, baseball, basketball, all of the things, hit me up, and I will get back to you. For those of you that enjoyed me ranting continuously about how cheap Red Sox ownership is and how much John Henry pissed me off this season, good news. The Red Sox seem to be cheaping out again at the winter meetings, and they let a division rival sign Pete Alonso, who they really could have used, and they let Kyle Schwarber stay with the Phillies. They weren't willing to match either of those offers or apparently come anywhere close. So I'm going to give them the rest of the offseason to deliver on the promise that they're going to go all in and bring in some big bats and some more pitching. We haven't seen it so far. So, I got a rant loaded up, and I'll give it a little bit more time. But for those of you that enjoy that, check back at the end of the MLB offseason, because I was not happy when I saw that Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles today. But with that said, let's grab Matt. Let's talk college football. Let's go. All right, Matt is here, ready for something a little bit different this week. As an annual tradition, we usually talk about college football bowl season and talk about what bowls we're looking forward to the most and all of that fun stuff. But Matt, no bowls matter anymore in college football except for the college football playoff. So we're going to talk about the playoff and maybe a little bit of the other fun drama that's been going on around college football. But Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm good. Put it that way.
That sounded so loaded.
I was really trying to say, I was trying not to say that I am doing better than Sharon Moore is right now. And I guess we can start there if we're talking about college football today. So I don't want to talk about like why he was fired too much, because it just happened. The story is still developing, but Sharon Moore, Michigan's head coach, was fired for an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. And then a report came out probably 15 minutes before we started recording that he has now been arrested in Washtenaw County and that he's being held by the police. And they're still trying to figure out why he was arrested. It's funny because like you kind of forget about the human side of sports, where it's like, God, this guy had a wife and kids, and now he's getting fired for having an inappropriate relationship, and that family just got destroyed. And the news breaks. It's like, hey, Michigan just fired Sharon Moore. And my first thing I text you was like, wow, what a shitty time to look for a new coach. So bad move by me. But Matt, you're a Michigan fan. What's going through your mind right now?
I mean, Michigan adjacent. Like, I'm much more of a Broncos fan than I am an actual Wolverines fan. But having grown up closer to U of M, if I have to choose between the two, I'm choosing U of M over State. 100%.
Yeah, you can really tell that U of M lost to Ohio State this year. Matt's like, I'm not really a Wolverines fan.
I mean, I've been consistent on that.
It's fair.
I mean, can you imagine much of a worse transition away from Jim Harbaugh than this? Like, I understand the idea of like hey, we just won a national championship. We want to keep what worked for us. Let's not make any like big changes. But man, like now you are seeing the cost when you put someone that is maybe not qualified for that position in that role. And I think this is even more so than the NFL. Like when you're the head coach of a college football program, you have an immense amount of power. And not everyone is fit to handle that power responsibly. Sounds like, based on the firing with cause, that he wasn't able to do that. And clearly, like, that's going to have impact on the field. That's having an impact on his personal life. It's probably going to have an impact for them in the portal.
Yeah, I think all fair points. That I mean, I don't like to get all caught up in like the gossip side of sports, really. So like I'm more interested in like what this means for the university moving forward. But I agree with you, like, I was pissed when my favorite football team did this after they fired Bill Belichick. And they're like, hey, we got Gerard Mayo. We really like him. We're promoting him. And every single person, like every single fan and every single person who was like associated with the team in any way, like beat writers and all that, are like, you sure about that? Where, purely like from an on-field perspective, not the right guy. And, Jim Harbaugh wins a national championship and then leaves. And then there's been a pretty clear drop off for Michigan football the last couple of years. And like, I know once you win a natty and all those guys leave, it's like really hard to maintain that same level of success. And I will give them credit for like recruiting Bryce Underwood and like doing all this stuff. But, now there's a couple fears for Michigan. So like I mentioned, like this is a really, really horrible time, like putting the human component of this aside, because this is a sports podcast. This is a really, really horrible time to be looking for a coach when we just went through a coaching cycle of like one of the most competitive coaching cycles we've had in quite some time, where LSU, Florida, Auburn, Penn State, like all of these big time jobs were open and big time coaches were hired for all of those jobs. So like the super successful lower level guys, like the JMU coach who left and like Tulane's coach left, and those guys are still going to coach in the college football playoff, but they're taking jobs at bigger universities. So like that level of guy is gone. Matt Campbell, the coach of the Iowa State Cyclones, has just kind of been like the in case of emergency break glass guy for every Big Ten program for the last 7 years. It's been like, oh, well, we can always go get Matt Campbell. He's good. Penn State finally pulled the trigger on that. So he's quote unquote gone. I guess we'll see. Michigan is one of the most elite jobs in the country.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if that ink isn't dry yet, you've got to imagine they are making some calls.
Yeah.
So.
I saw someone say that Matt Campbell's buyout $70 million, and it's like, that's nothing to Larry Ellison. So I don't think that would be an issue. But like LSU hired somebody and Auburn hired somebody, and like the whole coaching cycle is done. And now you're just getting started. And obviously, like, they didn't plan this timing. It's not like they were like, yeah, we're just ready to fire this guy because he lost to Ohio State this year. There's obvious, like, very good reason if you're firing him for cause.
Yeah.
But now you're starting from square one and you're having to go out and get somebody. The even bigger concern than, like, who's going to be your coach to me right now, and like that's kind of a crazy thing to say because the coach is the most important position in college football. Bryce Underwood, your phenom freshman, what's going to go on with him? Like Lane Kiffin is at LSU. LSU and Michigan had a very intense recruiting battle over Bryce Underwood. Just call him Bryce Young. Bryce Underwood.
You almost did.
Yeah, I really like. It's hard for me to transition to college football, but
physically very different people.
Can like Lane Kiffin flip Bryce Underwood now in the portal? Stuff like that is like, that's the kind of stuff I'm worried about. Like you said, with players possibly defecting based on who the coaching hire is. The funnier scenario is that Michigan's number one target is apparently Kalen DeBoer, the coach of Alabama. who's only been there for 2 years after like being really good at Washington. And if they're able to get him and all of a sudden that Alabama job opens up this late, Lane Kiffin, who just signed with LSU and broke up with Ole Miss in a very public way to do so, apparently has always coveted that Alabama job. And so we may see like a domino effect of like really, really big schools getting screwed over in short order here. And that is the kind of drama that you can only get from the sport of college football.
I am here for it. Just give me the chaos.
Yeah.
I am Team Chaos Broncos than Wolverines.
I was going to say, you said you're a bigger Broncos fan than a Wolverines. And when we say Broncos on this podcast, we're referring, of course, to the Western Michigan Broncos.
Western Michigan Broncos, who are MAC champions.
MAC champions, baby! The second time ever.
We'll put respect on our name.
Coincidentally, Western Michigan is playing Kennesaw State University in, I forget which bowl they're in, some South Carolina something bowl. You know who went to Kennesaw State?
I presume a number of people.
Who important to me went to Kennesaw State? It's obviously someone we know.
Is that your father?
It is my mother. My mom got it. Yeah, she got
I knew it was one of the two.
First nursing degree from Kennesaw State. So Fowler family Civil War, baby! Let's go. Let's go Broncos. But let's get into the actual like on-field stuff. The college football playoff bracket is set, much to the chagrin of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, which I can't lie. Like after they left out Notre Dame, just the last like 90 whatever hours it's been, 100 hours since then, 3 days, 4 days. I have enjoyed the absolute Notre Dame meltdown that has happened.
Yeah.
That's been fantastic. But the bracket is set, and I guess let's start here. Did the committee get it right?
I mean, I would say yes, personally. I mean, maybe there's some decisions you can make a case for, but like I know the one thing that's getting all of the attention is Notre Dame, and I think it is unequivocally the right decision to not have them in there, because who did they beat? Oh yeah, like USC is your best win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Miami beat you. That's like one of the main teams that people are saying that Notre Dame should be over. So you're not going to get that one. And Alabama is the other one. And okay, well, Alabama just split with Georgia, and they have the same record as Notre Dame.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
I agree with you. I will say that like within the bounds of what the college football playoff committee has to do as far as like automatic qualifiers and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
I think they made the right decisions. I have some suggestions about how we can make bowl season better here shortly, but with all the like considerations for conference champions and like automatic qualifiers and all that stuff, I actually like, I look at this bracket and I'm like, they included the right 12 teams, I believe.
Yeah.
Some of the seeding I would flip if it was my personal preference. Like I think Georgia should be ahead of Ohio State. I think, you could probably argue for Miami over Alabama, but it's like small gripes that are not a huge deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As far as Notre Dame getting left out, I agree with you. I think it absolutely was the correct thing. I talked about this on the pod last week in the opening, that I thought the fact that Notre Dame was ranked above Miami was a travesty, was the word I used. And that might have been a little melodramatic, but the signal you were sending by putting Notre Dame in over Miami is that who you lose to is more important than who you beat. Because Miami beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Straight up, these two teams got on a football field together and played a football game, and Miami won it. And they had the same amount of losses. So they had the same record at the end of the year. and they had Notre Dame ahead of Miami before the final ranking. And like the signal to me that was sending is like, okay, Notre Dame's 2 losses are to Texas A&M and to Miami, who are both top 10 ranked teams. Miami's losses are to like Louisville and, Georgia Tech, or like someone, they lost to someone bad in the ACC. And so what they were saying is like, yeah, Notre Dame is better because they didn't lose to people that are as bad as the teams you lost to. Meanwhile, Miami's sitting there like, we literally beat them on the field. And they're like, oh yeah, that was weeks ago. So I understand the complaint that like the way we got here is shitty, as far as Notre Dame was ahead of Miami. Neither of these teams played. And then all of a sudden Miami's ahead of Notre Dame. That's kind of shitty, but it was always the right decision. So I don't really care about how we got there as much as like, I don't know. I think the ends justify the means. I think we got to the right spot, even though maybe it wasn't the best way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, the process might have been a little messy, but like we got there in the end. And I don't care what math teachers tell us, how you get to the right answer doesn't matter.
Just get it right. But and as far as Alabama is concerned, because that's the other one I've seen that like Notre Dame fans are like, well, yeah, okay, but like Miami beat us, so they should be in. But Alabama just got like their absolute shit rocked by Georgia. So why didn't Alabama fall at all? And this is something I talked about on the podcast in the opening the last couple of weeks as well, is that the precedent for what the committee was going to do with the conference championship games was already set last year, because SMU was number 8 in the country and they lost to Clemson in the ACC championship game. And a lot of people were calling for SMU to drop out of the playoffs altogether. And they didn't. They dropped from 8 to 10 and they still made the playoff. And then they lost to Penn State 38-10 in the first round, which was awful. But, Alabama plays this SEC championship game and gets destroyed by Georgia. They have negative 21 yards rushing or whatever it was, like really, really bad game for Alabama. And Alabama doesn't move at all. And it's pissing a lot of people off. And especially because BYU also got dominated by Texas Tech and BYU fell 2 spots. But like the key difference I haven't really seen talked about is the implications for what would happen if you had dropped Alabama out of the playoff, where Alabama is like clearly in the playoff as number 8 or number 9, whatever they were going into the SEC championship. Mm-hmm. They get destroyed. If you drop them out of the playoff, why am I playing in a conference championship game ever again? Right? Like if I was very clearly in, and then I lost a game when none of the other teams around me played, like numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, only one of those teams played this past weekend. I guess BYU played too, but like Miami didn't play. Notre Dame didn't play. Texas A&M didn't play. Ole Miss didn't play. None of these teams played this past weekend. I have to go play Georgia, who's really, really good. And they absolutely waxed me. But like the message you're sending there is now, if you're in the college football playoff, just decline the invite to your conference championship game. Don't play it, and we'll just let you stay in. So you can't drop a conference championship loser out. BYU was not in the playoff, so you can do whatever you want with them. And like, if it was the regular season, would Alabama have dropped? Yes. For losing that game and losing it the way they did, they would not have just stayed where they are. But because of the implications, because of what you would do to conference championship games, if you drop them out, you can't do it. You have to leave them in. And like, this is the same thing. Alabama missed, the playoff last year because SMU got to stay in after they got beat by Clemson. So it just happened like the opposite way for Alabama 1 year ago. And now like Alabama is benefiting from it. And everybody's like, oh, Alabama always gets preferential treatment. But like, this is the kind of shit that I've been talking about for years with college football playoff expansion. Mm-hmm. As soon as we were going to expand from 4 teams to 12 teams, one of the first things I told everybody is like, the number one thing this is going to do is give the Alabamas and the Ohio States of the world like infinite chances. And now you have 3-loss Alabama, who, should they be a playoff team? I don't know, but they have to be a playoff team. They can't not. because they were already ranked in the playoff before the conference championship game. So it's like they just played a game and got waxed by Georgia, and it doesn't matter at all. And it can't matter is the problem. It can't matter because if it did, then you're screwing over conference championship games for the rest of the college football playoff experience.
We can get into like logistics and qualifiers and all that stuff, but like, do you genuinely believe that Notre Dame is one of the 12 best teams? Because if the answer to that isn't like immediately yes, 100%, they absolutely are, then like the conversation is null and void.
Well, this is the other problem I have with the college football playoff right now, is that Notre Dame could very well be one of the 12 best teams in the country, but it doesn't matter. They have to be one of the 10 best teams in the country because we have to have these two automatic qualifiers. Like, do we think that JMU and Tulane are two of the best 12 teams in the country?
Probably not.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think
based on what we've seen from other teams.
Like, I agree with you. I don't think that James Madison or Tulane are two of the best 12 teams in the country. So, like, that's my bigger gripe here is that
maybe one of them can make waves.
Green Waves. It's Tulane's mascot for those who don't know. But my thing is, like, it doesn't matter if Notre Dame is one of the 12 best teams in the country, whether you think it's like, you know, we have the top 10 and then you could say like, oh, Texas and Vanderbilt or Notre Dame and BYU or whatever combination of teams you want. Two of the 12 best teams in the country got left out because of the rules of how we put this bracket together. So I have multiple fixes that we can talk about.
Yeah, but like this is a situation of Notre Dame's own creation, right? Like they choose to remain independent. They choose to primarily play a pretty soft schedule. And then they lose to the tougher teams on their schedule and they're like, "Oh, why won't anyone take us seriously?" No.
If you are going to bitch about it this much, Notre Dame, and if your AD is going to be like all over every radio show and podcast and all this stuff, talking all his shit and saying like, oh, the ACC really screwed us over. We hate them. We're a good business partner. Join a conference. Play a conference championship game. Anybody would love to have you. Literally, any conference would love to have Notre Dame in their conference. You want to join the Big Ten? It's done tomorrow. ACC, done tomorrow. SEC, done tomorrow. Like, you can go play in a conference. And if you're good enough, you can play in a conference championship game as well and not get punished for losing it and potentially have upside for winning it. The one thing I will warn Notre Dame about is you got to get there. And that is a lot harder when you have to actually like play a conference schedule against real teams and you can't just play. Like, I think they had one win this season against a team that was over 500 and it was USC. I'm trying to remember the rest of their schedule, but I know like a lot of their wins are like Stanford and Boston College and like, granted, a lot of these teams they beat are in the ACC, so they could just go play in the ACC and play a pretty similar schedule. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like, it's something Notre Dame does this to themselves by insisting that they be independent. I will give them credit for scheduling Miami and Texas A&M at the beginning of the season. You know, those are two tough games. Nobody else is scheduling out of conference games like that. I mean, you know, when you have to schedule all 12 of your games and 10 of them are against cream puffs and the other two are tough, I guess we could get into the debate. But like, they put together a schedule that it's respectable in the way that they played Miami, Texas A&M, USC. Those are pretty decent teams. They're USC's number 16. The other two are top 10. The problem is you didn't win, right? And now that puts you in this position where, like, if you're in direct competition against Texas A&M or Miami, they 100% do have the tiebreaker because they beat you. You know, and if it was you versus BYU for that last spot, then whatever. You didn't play each other. I could see it. if it was you versus Vanderbilt, if it was you versus Texas, like there's a debate to be had there. But when it's you versus Miami for one spot and Miami beats you on the field this season, I don't want to hear it, especially now because the other thing that was revealed after Notre Dame didn't make the playoff is that they signed a memorandum of understanding with someone. I don't know who the fuck signed this thing, but from next year forward, as long as Notre Dame is in the top 12 of the college football playoff rankings, they automatically have to make the playoff.
Main principle of sports is competition. Right. And by doing that, you're literally trying to take away the competition. You're trying to like really like lower any level of degree of difficulty you can get.
This is the problem with Notre Dame. This is the root of the problem. They don't really like to play football. You know?
No.
They say anywhere, anybody, anytime, but they are now refusing a college football bowl bid because they didn't make the playoff. Florida State got left out of the college football playoff after going undefeated a couple of years ago in the 4-team playoff, and they still went and played a bowl. Alabama missed last year after SMU didn't drop. They still went and played a bowl. To not go and play a bowl, like this is something else I've been talking about for the last couple of years with expansion and why I've been anti-expansion is like, you know, one, like I mentioned, you're giving the powers of the world a billion chances. You know, everybody wants to be like, oh, look, well, like Tulane and JMU are getting chances too. And it's like, that's great. They get a very slim chance while Alabama's getting like chance number 4 right now. The other thing is like having a playoff completely devalues everything else. So like regular season devalued. None of the other bowl games matter. The Western game matters to us as Western fans of like a small school that's going to a bowl game. But like for a school like Notre Dame to finish in the top 12 and say, I don't want to play in your bowl because it's stupid and I'm mad that I didn't get into the one that matters. This, I think, is like the opening of Pandora's box as far as the rest of the bowls are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who was in favor of the expansion understood that you had to have some sort of contingency for what you're doing with the bowls beyond that, because they clearly haven't done anything else with them. It's still like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's still a terrible move by Notre Dame. And honestly, it's probably costing them money. I guarantee you they get quite a bit of funding from just going and playing the game. But yeah, I totally agree that there needs to be some sort of incentivization of like going to these bowls and like getting better bowl bids even if you don't make it into the playoff.
We can talk all the shit about Notre Dame we want because neither of us really like them, but we all have to acknowledge the fact that they are one of the premier schools in college football and they are like a school that matters. And so for one of the biggest schools that matters to say, fuck the Cheez-It Bowl or whatever bowl they were going to go to, or the Pop-Tart Bowl or whatever, like whatever stupid bowl that's whoever's sponsoring these bowls nowadays, for them to say like, I'm not playing that because it literally doesn't matter. Only this matters. And I'm upset because I didn't get in it is like, I think going to be a signal to other schools who get left out of the college football playoff to just be like, it doesn't matter. Like, I know Notre Dame gets like quite a bit of revenue and funding for going and playing in a bowl game, but like they're not hurting. Their pockets aren't hurting for not playing in it. So like the Michigans and the USCs and the Texases and the Alabamas and like, why, like if I'm like the other schools, I'm like, why the fuck are we playing in a bowl? It doesn't matter. I don't want to play in this bowl game. We've already seen like the students don't care, or the like the quote unquote student athletes who are going to the NFL. They're like, I'm not playing in this game. And I think part of that too is the NFL draft process has put so much more of an emphasis on like the not only the combine, but like the All-Star game kind of things, like the Shrine Bowl and the East versus West game and stuff like that.
Yep.
Where NFL coaches can come and like get their hands on these kids that like, if I'm a senior who's like a projected 4th or 5th round pick, I'm like, hey, I'm not risking getting hurt in the Cheez-It Bowl. That's going to keep me out of the Shrine Bowl where I'm really going to like make my hay and like really going to improve my draft stock getting coached by, NFL coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge component of that. And the reality is no one wants to watch a bowl game where all of the guys that have a shot at going to the NFL are just like, I'm not going to play.
Well, that brings me to my fixes for how do we make this better? At least like not all college football, but at least bowl season. I think I can fix it. So my first proposal.
I can fix her.
I can do it. I know I can. My first proposal is just to go to straight seeding. So the top 12 teams make the playoff. That's it. Whoever the top 12 teams are in the final ranking, that is our playoff. And we just go 1 through 12 seeding. My thing about this particular college football playoff is I worry about James Madison and Tulane, where like the ACC really screwed everybody over by letting Duke win the ACC based on their stupid tiebreakers. Where now it's like that you have to include the top 5 ranked conference champions, and it turns out that number 5 is James Madison because they're ranked higher than Duke. I think the college football playoff will be good. I think it will be fun, but I think the first round games would just be better if like Notre Dame and Texas were in them instead of James Madison and Tulane. And I know people are going to be like, well, but you got to like include the little guy. You got to give the group of 5 schools a chance. Ole Miss is favored by 17.5 over Tulane, and Oregon's favored by 22.5 over James Madison. I don't expect those to be fun games. And I don't think that going to straight seeding precludes the group of 5. Like, remember the rule used to be if you want to make a New Year's Six Bowl as a group of 5 team, you have to be ranked in the top 15.
Yeah.
You had to be a good group of 5 team. And a lot of like the Boise States and the TCU teams of the past that were like quote unquote left out of an opportunity to win a championship, those teams all finished like top 10 anyway. Right. So like there needs to be some kind of qualifier to say like, hey, group of 5, if you can produce a good team that's like top 15 or top 12, we will put them in. But if your best team is Tulane and they're number 20 or 22 or whatever they are, we're going to skip that this year. So I still think it gives opportunity.
I want to say Boise actually won 1 or 2 of those. And I know TCU beat Wisconsin one of those years. So like when a team earns their way into that company, it is possible for them to go toe to toe with some of these teams.
Yeah. That like ultimately, you said this earlier about Notre Dame. Like, do you believe they're one of the best 12 teams in the country? And I said it doesn't matter because the best 12 aren't included because we have automatic qualifiers. I think ultimately like what the goal of the playoff needs to be and what the goal of the playoff committee needs to be is like put the best 12 teams in the playoff. And let's watch that. And there will always be gripes because if you put it to straight seeding and do 12, then team 13 is going to be like, oh, what the fuck? I should have got in. But, at least it's better. My real solution, though, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy coming from me, Mr. Anti-Expansion. The solution is to expand more. I want you all to hear me out.
Make the entire season a tournament?
December Madness. It's the March Madness version of college football. 64 teams enter. But even if you had 64 teams, Team 65 is going to be like, oh, what the fuck? What happened? We should have been in. We beat Akron at Akron. How did we get left out of the top 64? I have a proposal, though, of how we make more bowl games that matter. So my number one, my hard and fast rule for college football for years and years, whether we were in the BCS or the 4 team or the 12 team or the 64 team, do not rank anybody until the college football playoff selection committee ranks people.
It's never going to happen.
I know. And well, trust me, none of this is ever going to happen. I know that.
Sports media can't help themselves.
But like, this is the thing. It's like, why do we need to rank teams? And they're like, oh, well, people need to know what to watch. I don't need numbers to tell me to watch Texas versus Michigan to start the season.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know that's going to be a good game. It doesn't matter that it's like number 2 Texas versus number 4 Michigan. You like set the precedent for the college football playoff committee by saying like these are the best 25 teams in the country for like 10 weeks before the committee even starts working. So they're like, our work's done for us. We don't need to do any hard work. We'll just like use the AP poll and then we'll rank from there. So I always think we should get rid of that. But I would go to a 16 team playoff and do straight seeding. So 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15. And the first round, all 8 games are on campus. They're all bowl games, right? So you're like, it's like, oh, the Peach Bowl is at Georgia this year, and the Rose Bowl is at, Texas. And I looked at like the bracket this year, and if we did 16 team straight seeding, we would have Indiana versus USC, Ohio State versus Utah, Georgia versus Vandy, Texas Tech versus Texas at Texas Tech. Be lit. Oregon versus BYU, Ole Miss versus Notre Dame, Texas A&M and Miami, and then Oklahoma and Alabama. That sounds like the best 16 teams in the country to me, right? And then if you do top 16, you're giving the group of 5 even more of a chance because you're saying to the group of 5, like, hey, like, get a team into the top 16. The rule used to be you got to get it into the top 15. That tournament, like right now, what they do is like the first 4 games are not like quote unquote bowl games. They're not sponsored bowl games. They're just like, this is the college football playoff game live from Oregon. Make that a bowl. Make it the Peach Bowl. Who cares? Give it a sponsor. That's 15 bowl games. Part 2, second 16 team tournament, but it's all of the group of 5 teams. It's all of the group of 5 conference champions. It's all of the best group of 5 teams. So like, Tulane and JMU, you guys weren't good enough to be in the top 16 this year. Mm-hmm. Guess what? You're the top 2 seeds in our group of 5 national championship tournament. And then you include all the conference champions. So it's Western, Michigan, and it's Kennesaw State, and it's, whoever won the other conference that I'm missing. And then you just do like 7 at-large bids for group of 5, like whoever the best group of 5 teams are. And you make those all bowl games. And you make those the small bowl games. So you like the smaller sponsors, like the Pop-Tart Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl and the Pinstripe Bowl and like all that shit. And you do it at the schools for the first round. And so you're like, oh, it's, Kennesaw State at Western. It's the Pinstripe Bowl. And then whoever wins that goes on and they play in the Cheez-It Bowl. And then the championship game is like the Pop-Tart Bowl for the group of 5 champion. And you make it a huge cash incentive. Whatever school wins that, your school gets however many $1 million makes it worth it. Because you have all these sponsors sponsoring this tournament. And so you get to be the group of 5 national champion and you get $15 million for your school. Like, teams would want to win that and they would want to incentivize players to play in that. And so you tell the players, hey, don't leave. We're going to win $15 million and you can have whatever portion of it, split it in half. And then you get all the players get a couple $100,000 or something like that if they win. So that creates another 15 bowl games. So that's 30 bowls. That's 30 bowl games. And then you have 17 leftover bowls because right now we play 47. And to those 17 bowl games, I say, fuck off. We don't need 47 bowls. This is it. This is postseason college football. That's all it is. The top 16 teams go to one playoff. The top 16, like group of 5 teams, go to another playoff. We play those playoffs. This is it. We don't need Missouri versus Virginia in the middle of the Bahamas. We don't need Iowa versus like Texas Southern in some stupid bowl game. I don't need to watch Iowa's 3rd string quarterback throw a pass. I'm good. Get rid of the other 17 bowls.
Watching anyone below Iowa's 1st string quarterback throw a pass, you are going to see some things.
Maybe I do. Maybe I do want to watch that. But you know what I mean? Is like
they don't do forward pass.
Yeah. You know what I mean though? Is like we're gonna watch. Well, we're probably not gonna watch all of them, but there's gonna be 47 bowl games. they couldn't even find enough teams that wanted to play in bowl games to fill all the bowl games. Like whatever that one bowl was, they're like Florida State and Kansas and like 5 other schools like turned it down because they're like, nah, we're good. And granted, like some of them, their players had already left, like they'd already started their off-season protocol. So they're just like, we couldn't even play it if we wanted to. But nobody cares about these bowl games, right? So like, let's give the people something they care about. Give me 2 separate tournaments, one for the national championship, one for the group of 5 championship, which is also coincidentally worth $20 million. Whatever. Who cares? It's fake money. There's just money flying all over the place in these stupid college football right now. I think that would be entertaining as hell. That's something I want to see. I don't know. What do you think?
Better than what we're dealing with right now. You know, you went quite a bit further with it, but I'm glad to see you have finally joined me in being in favor of the 16-team format. 'Cause as you know, I think bye weeks are for bitches. Like, if you are good enough to be the national champion, you don't need a bye week. You can keep winning. I do think that is one of the mistakes of a 12-team format is giving a bunch of teams a bye. I do think that the secondary tournament, who knows if teams would actually bite at it, but it is at least something that could incentivize teams to get their players invested in actually playing these bowl games. I would be in favor of it more so than what we're doing right now because, I mean, just kind of check out after, championship week is over and then find the few bowl games that I'm actually going to be able to watch and half of these bowl games will be played while I'm at work.
Yeah, I would get really weird with the secondary tournament too, where I'd be like, you know what, like who, like say, Tulane is the highest ranked group of 5 team this year, but they're not high enough to get into my 16-team tournament. So I'd be like, Tulane, you're the number 1 seed. You get to pick your opponent. You get to pick who you want and like add some drama to it. And it's like whoever the number 1 seed is every round, you get to pick your opponent. And then the number 2 seed gets to pick theirs. And it's like, oh, Tulane selects Western Michigan. And then all the Western Michigan fans are like, oh, fuck you, Tulane. We could take you. And then Western Michigan's all pissed off. And then it's like a fun game. Like get really weird with it. Yeah. Let's get some like WWE level drama into the secondary tournament. Give them some incentive to play. Because like, how pissed would you be if it's like, oh, Western Michigan won the MAC. They get a home game in the secondary tournament. And then Tulane's like, no, you don't. You're coming to Tulane. I'd be like, oh, I hate these guys. And we would just hate Tulane forever on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I might even already just out of this theoretical scenario. I
know. It kind of pissed me off. I'm getting a little like hot and bothered over here. Tulane, I hope you guys lose. I actually hope Tulane wins. I would really, really enjoy seeing like the 2 group of 5 teams that did make the playoffs show out and like beat Oregon and Ole Miss. That'd be like, I think the number 1 scenario that it won't play out, but the number 1 funniest scenario that if it did play out is that James Madison wins the whole thing because like they're really the team that nobody thinks should be there. I don't know. And I guess the other thing too about like reseeding, if you look at like Indiana's the number 1 team in the country, right? Which is like a crazy thing to say is that Indiana, the losingest college football program of all time, is the number 1 team in the country. And they are undefeated Big Ten champions and have the presumed number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft in Fernando Mendoza, who might be a psychopath, but that might be a good thing. Big Kirk Cousins vibes from our friend Fernando Mendoza. But their first game is either going to be Alabama or Oklahoma at a neutral site. I don't think that that's like a super fun game either way. I think they should be able to pick their opponent.
No.
Like, Indiana's number 1 team. They should have they have a bye. I know I kind of agree they shouldn't, but they have a bye. They should be able to watch like all 4 of these games and be like, we want Texas A&M. Give me that level of drama because we saw this with Oregon last year. Oregon was same situation, undefeated Big Ten champion. They were either going to get Ohio State or Tennessee. And it's like, wait, so Penn State gets SMU and then they get Boise State, the team we just beat in the Big Ten championship, gets like an infinitely easier road than we do. We have to play Ohio State again, who's really good and super talented. Great. Thank you, committee. So I'd like to see them mess with the seeding, but ultimately what we are doing right now is not working. There are, 40 bowl games that do not matter whatsoever, except for the fact that I want to see Western beat Kennesaw State because Fowler family civil war, baby. Let's go. Any other college football thoughts before we talk a little NFL here at the end?
No, I think we kind of covered it.
All right, so Bolds and Scolds, week 14 of the NFL season. We're almost at the end, man. We're in like the last quarter of the regular season.
Yeah.
It's depressing. I just went a whole week without watching Drake May for the first time this season. Did not enjoy that because we had a bye week. And just like an absolutely lit schedule of NFL football this weekend. Like, I feel like they knew college football was ending. So Bills Pats on Sunday. We have Ravens Bengals. You got Chargers Chiefs is a big one. Colts Seahawks, Packers Broncos, Lions Rams. Like, it's going to be a good Sunday of football. But Bolds and Scolds for week 14. It is my week to go first. And I'm going to give my bold to Colts quarterback Phillip Rivers. Okay, honestly,
not getting a grade 3 hamstring tear when he's coming out of retirement.
Well, first of all, I honestly cannot believe I am saying the words Colts quarterback Phillip Rivers is insane to be saying, because how many years has it been since he retired? This isn't Frank Ragnow retiring at the end of last season and then trying to come back. Like, it's been years.
Yeah.
I
think he was due to be up on the next Hall of Fame ballot. So I think we're coming up on 5 years.
Yeah. So, or like 4 because it's on the next one, whatever it is. But it's like, it's been multiple years since this man retired. Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, tears his Achilles. And I don't know who your scold is, but there's like a whole another conversation to be had here about the Colts mortgaging their future in a year where Daniel Jones is their quarterback by trading 2 firsts to the Jets, only for the guy they traded for to tear his Achilles, and then the quarterback that they were betting on to tear his Achilles in back-to-back weeks. But who was their backup? Riley Leonard? Or am I thinking Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Riley Leonard is hurt now. He has like a knee injury after playing. Like, he came into the game last week and also got hurt. I saw this story. They're like, hey, we're going to be trying out Phillip Rivers to play quarterback. And I was like, how much can this franchise hate Anthony Richardson that they would rather go to Phillip Rivers?
No, he's still not healed.
Yeah, I forgot.
Broken orbital bone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I forgot that he got hit in the face by a workout band during pregame and broke his face. But that's like, so my first thought was like, God, they fucking hate Anthony Richardson so much, which was totally believable to me that they would rather have Phillip Rivers play quarterback than Anthony Richardson at this point. But I did forget he was hurt. So Phillip Rivers going to become the second grandparent ever to play in the NFL, along with, what was his name? Morton Anderson, the kicker that was like 65 and still playing football. Gary Anderson. Morton Anderson was the quarterback. Gary Anderson, the kicker. I don't know, man. I have 2 kids and I don't have the energy to do shit. I cannot imagine having as many kids as Phillip Rivers has and being like, yeah, I'll go play quarterback in the NFL. It'll be fine. Why is Phillip Rivers playing quarterback in the NFL? What does he have to prove? He has plenty of money. He has plenty of children. I don't understand this at all, but you know what? The Colts called and he answered, and Godspeed, Phillip Rivers. I don't know what he possibly has to gain by doing this, but I respect the fact that he's going to lace him up and start this Sunday. against who are they playing? Oh yeah, the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle.
No,
Yeah.
that's how you die.
Mm-hmm. Now might be a good time to mention that Matt and I are playing each other in the fantasy football playoffs this weekend, and that I am starting Seattle.
Yeah, I did not think I made it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think you were going to make it either. I like opened it on Tuesday and it was like, you're playing Matt. And I was like, oh, God damn it. I hate playing Matt. And I feel like Matt always beats me. And the projected score, like, so what are you? You're like, you're 6-7 or something like that.
I think I'm 6-8.
6-8. I'm like, I think I'm like 9-5, or I don't know. Shows how much attention I pay.
Yeah, I am 6-8.
Yeah, you're 6-8. I'm 9-5. I've scored 100 more points than you have this season, and you're projected to beat me 118 to 109. I'm like, I have honestly have no idea how my team got to 9-5. I'm starting like Devin Neal in my flex spot, and yeah, it has not. I'm starting like Wan'Dale Robinson and Devin Neal this weekend. So wish me luck there. Anyway, my one saving grace might be I am starting Seattle's defense against Phillip Rivers this weekend. And it's either going to be like a 30 burger for me or a -4 because Phillip Rivers is going to ball. Either way, bold. Because if you were like, Adam, I will give you $10 million to play a football game at quarterback against Seattle's defense this weekend, I would say no thank you. I have a lot to live for.
Well, I don't know how much of an advantage that is for you because you know who my defense is, right?
I know. And they're playing Jacoby Brissett. Equally not great. But I was just thinking is that like maybe Phillip Rivers saw this as an opportunity to finally get away from those 11 kids that he has. And he's like, this is it. The sweet release of death is the only way. Lace them up.
Maybe my outsides can finally feel like my insides.
Boom. Who is your bold for week 14?
My bold is Tom Kennedy. So he was called up from the practice squad to the Lions this past Thursday with all of the injuries, filling in as kick returner. Had some really, really good and crucial kick returns in that game. Caught a couple of key passes and like high leverage situations. But the reason I wanted to highlight him is that Tom Kennedy has been on and off the Lions practice squad since prior to Dan Campbell. He has been a Lion for like over 5 years now and never really gotten any shine, never really gotten much of a real chance. I mean, obviously, like, the Lions pride themselves on giving everyone their shot to prove their worth, right? But, like, at the end of the day in the NFL, like, your real chance is being on the field on Sunday, being given the ball, right? And the dude made every last bit of the opportunity that he got and was a huge part of why they won that game against a really, really hot team. So it was really cool to see that for him because, I mean, the guy's been gutting it out on the same practice team for over 6 years.
When you said Tom Kennedy, I'm like, Matt always picks people who I don't know. But excellent selection. So, oh man, I like really had to debate who to do for Scold. I had two that I really wanted to mention. Who is your Scold so that maybe you did one of them?
Mine is not a player or coach or anything.
Okay.
It is a media personality. So
okay. So not mine. So I'll do mine.
That inform yours. Yeah.
I'll do both of mine because they're not, one of them's not long. The first one is Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. became the first player ever to turn the ball over twice on the same play this weekend. Jalen Hurts threw an interception, and the person who intercepted it fumbled, and Jalen Hurts recovered it and then proceeded to fumble. Jalen Hurts is like a very consistent fantasy asset over the last couple of years due to his rushing. Like, he's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks, one of the best guys to have. First player to ever have -4 on one play. And they did this thing. They looked back into the archives and said, as far as we can see, nobody has ever turned over the ball twice on the same play before. So that's a first. My other scold is the Washington Fighting Georges. So earlier this season, Matt scolded the Georges because Jayden Daniels hurt his non-throwing arm playing in a game against Seattle that was like already, I forget what the score was, but it was like super out of hand. And he was playing in garbage time and suffered like a pretty significant injury that caused him to miss 6 weeks or whatever it is. So the Georges were 3-9 going into week 14 and decided to bring Jayden Daniels back for yet another game that did not matter because they are 3-9 and have absolutely no shot of making the playoffs. They start Jayden Daniels. He gets hurt again, same arm, exacerbates the injury and has to go out. They're saying it's not serious. He didn't suffer significant structural damage, but apparently he's extremely, extremely lucky not to have, because he shouldn't have come back from the first injury. And they decided to start him in a game they lost 31-0 to the Minnesota Vikings. What are we doing in Washington? Why are we playing the franchise quarterback who is coming off of a huge injury in a game that does not matter? Like, he got hurt playing in a time that did not matter. You bring him back for a game that does not matter, that you get absolutely schmeckeldorfed and make JJ McCarthy look really good. And he gets hurt again. This is like fireable offense mismanagement for Dan Quinn, honestly. Like, I know last season was like awesome for them, but this is a fireable offense.
Yeah. I briefly talked you out of them being in the playoffs, then you put them back in at the last minute, didn't you?
But I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, we talked about this. Is like, you fully convinced me that they shouldn't be in the playoffs. And I was like, yeah, but like Jayden Daniels is like really good. And I just went with like the quarterback. But somehow, like, I put them in the playoffs, but somehow I have a lower floor on my win ranges for them than you do. I don't think I even listen to myself. I'm like, yeah, they can only win 5 games this season, but they're a playoff team. Sure. I don't think I listen to myself sometimes. I didn't listen. I should have. Who is your scold?
We didn't listen.
Who is your scold for week 14?
My scold is Cris Collinsworth. I know everyone hates this guy. Like, I'm well aware of that. And I know that we all know he sucks, right? But my God, like, taking it to the level of whining and complaining on broadcast about the Chiefs being negatively impacted by officiating is the most tone-deaf thing I have ever seen on a sports broadcast. Like, it literally had me in stunned silence for a moment when he was doing that, because I was like, you know everything that has happened.
Yeah.
Like, that you have called many of those games, and then just like continuing to do typical Cris Collinsworth stuff where, you know, CJ Stroud is leading his team down the field, and then the camera pans over to Mahomes on the sideline, and then he just stops to go, there he is. Like, can you stop?
I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Kansas City. The one thing I do want to add here is, so they lose 20-10 to Houston. primarily based on their own hubris of like, it's a 10-10 game. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go for 4th and 4 from our own 30. That can't go wrong against the best defense in the NFL. And there was a lot of the narrative coming out of this week of football was like, oh, the Chiefs dynasty is dead and the GOAT debate is over now. And someone asked me, they're like, how do you feel that Tom Brady officially won the GOAT debate? And I'm like, the debate never started. There was never a debate between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. And Patriot fans are like, oh, well, like, I'm just happy that like we don't have to hear about it anymore, blah, blah, blah. I have maintained throughout the entirety of Patrick Mahomes' career, because we've covered like the majority of his career on this podcast. Call me when he has 7. If we like, don't like bother me with this ever again. It was Peyton Manning. It was Aaron Rodgers. It was Patrick Mahomes. Don't ever bother me with this again until these guys have the stats that Tom Brady has or the rings and the wins that Tom Brady has. And people were like, oh, well, if Patrick Mahomes continues at this trajectory, he'll pass Tom Brady. Like, he's not continuing at that trajectory. It's not happening. That's the greatness of Tom Brady, is he did it for 22 years, not 7, like Patrick Mahomes did.
I would even say, like, if he gets to 5, you can start having a discussion of like, okay, what does he need to do to be the GOAT? Because then you're at least in spitting distance. You're at 3.
He's at 3, and he's not going to make the playoffs this year. I never want to hear this again. Whoever the next quarterback is, like, let's say it's like Arch Manning or Bryce Underwood 10 years from now, don't talk to me about this. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it ever again. Tom Brady is the GOAT until, like, this is the thing. This is the thing with LeBron James. And people are like, oh, LeBron James, he's the greatest player of all time. When? When did he become the greatest player of all time? Because he never passed Michael Jordan. You can't become the greatest unless you pass the greatest, and he doesn't have the achievements that Michael Jordan has. Nobody is ever going to achieve what Tom Brady achieved in football. It's literally impossible to ever do it again. I never want to hear a GOAT conversation ever again, unless it's, wow, Tom Brady's the GOAT. That's the only thing you should be saying about Tom. God. It's like when people were having the GOAT debates and they're like, ooh, Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, blah, blah. That stuff doesn't really piss me off as much as just the fact that I'm like people are trying to make all these points. The points don't piss me off as much as the fact that you're even bringing it up. It makes me so mad. But that is it for us. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com, and you can watch our podcast on YouTube. Just look up Fouled Out Sports. All the shorts are there as well. Really appreciate your guys' support, whether you're listening or emailing or watching on YouTube. Thank you, as always. Before we say goodbye, NBA take of the week. Matt, what do you got for us?
The Clippers are throwing stones from a glass house. I will not defend Chris Paul and his personality and the way that he interacts with others. But man, like, I'll tell you what, Chris Paul has had a much more serious NBA career than anyone else on that roster. I know that Kawhi had a very, very strong start to his career. His career has gotten very unserious since he went to LA. So if y'all want to start pointing fingers at Chris Paul, James, maybe you should stop talking that shit while you're there at the strip club the night before the game.
Fair.
Like, it's just like the most ridiculous franchise in the world to start throwing shade at another player.
Yeah. Probably a good time to remind everybody they're 6-18 and Oklahoma City, their first round pick this year, unprotected. So I have had kind of a crazy week. I didn't really prepare a lot for a couple segments of this podcast, including this one. So I promise I will do better in the following weeks and come with a real take. But my take for this week is that this NBA season doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter at all. The Oklahoma City Thunder are now 23-1 beating teams by 16 points per game. NBA Cup quarterfinals on right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder are up 107-69 near the end of the third quarter against the Phoenix Suns.
Nice.
Yeah, or not nice, depending on what side you're on here.
One of those numbers is.
This Oklahoma City team has a chance to be the best basketball team that we have ever seen. Honestly, from like a record perspective, an advanced stats perspective, like the fact that they are this good and this deep and this young. And they had a game the other day, I think, where like Shea and Jalen Williams both sat out and they just absolutely beat the shit out of whoever they were playing. Like it just didn't matter that Shea wasn't playing. There's like, yeah, we got it. It's fine. We have the best defense in the league. We have the best offense in the league. We have the best everything. They're winning by 16 points per game. That's their scoring margin right now. And somehow, some way, the only team that's beaten them is the Portland Trailblazers. I don't understand it, but I
also like since you mentioned the Portland Trailblazers, like I feel like no one's talked about it, but like Denny Avdija has been like awesome this year.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
He actually was pretty good for them like last season near the end. I had him on my fantasy team for a little bit and he was putting up like 20-point triple doubles. And I was like, oh, Denny Avdija, maybe. They got dominating out of there and now all of a sudden they're like a better franchise. It's amazing how that happens. But I say it doesn't matter because it does matter. And I know that you're having fun as a Pistons fan, enjoying your team, but like, good God, it right now just really feels like Oklahoma City is just going to steamroll absolutely everyone on their way to a second consecutive championship.
It does. This is where I remind you that the 73-win Warriors did not win the championship. So, and like, I know that the counterpoint to that is like, okay, well, like LeBron, but like, I would argue the Cavs winning that championship had nothing to do with LeBron or anyone else on that Cavs roster. No disrespect to them, but like when a team is that good, that if they don't win the championship, it's because they got too comfortable with winning.
Yeah, that's fair. So it was against the Jazz the other night. Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Alex Caruso, and Isaiah Hartenstein all stat out, and they beat the Jazz by 30. And I know it's the Jazz, but that's one of the best lineups in the entire league. Yeah, well, like that lineup combo has one of the best ratings of any like 5-man or any 4-man lineup combo in the entire league. And it just sat out, and they're just like, yeah, we're going to beat you by 30. So that's fun. But all right, buddy, everybody enjoy the football this weekend. Matt and I will be back next week. Same fouled out place, same fouled out time, talking about NFL football again, coming off of what is a pretty massive weekend for both of our teams. With Patriots have a chance to be the first team to clinch a playoff spot. If they can beat the Bills, they will clinch the AFC East. And then Lions trying to make a late season push to get back in the playoff spot, playing Matt Stafford and the Rams in LA, which I know is always emotionally difficult for you. So good luck this weekend, buddy. We will see you guys next week. Right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Robin.